Did you watch the golf video, Ma? Did
No,
you watch the golf video?
no. I'll have to watch it. Did you see I sent you that that's like a
Awesome.
new thing on for YouTubers, golf
Yeah, I
videos?
saw that before. I have to give credit where credit's due. Bryson DeChambeau, the professional golfer. I mean, he's
Yes.
really made quite the career just on YouTube. Like, obviously, he's a pro golfer, but I mean, I
Yeah.
think he might be the biggest golfing YouTube channel. I'm not sure. Don't
Oh,
quote me on that, but I don't know golf videos like Kenny does, but even I'll watch a Bryson DeChambeau video every now and then. But he does something called break 50 where he tries to break like if uh basically 50 strokes in a full course of 18.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
when he did it with Trump, that was kind of the big like that really just propelled him forward quite a bit. I think he went from like 1 million to 2 million subscribers from that. I'd have to check, but I mean that's essentially what Kenny and I did, but we broke 90, not 50. So, yeah.
Is that a good thing? I don't think so. Not in
Well,
golf.
considering I'm a gaming YouTuber and not a golfing YouTuber, and I don't play that much golf, it's fine, whatever. And I'm using old clubs. Mine are basically wood.
Watch Driver again.
Yeah, I
That's my
told
favorite.
Uncle Jerry that I was like, you know what the worst driver of all time is? He goes, yours. I was like, you already knew. Damn
I
it.
didn't think he to you.
Yeah,
I didn't think he oh,
I was very surprised when literally without hesitation, all these guys just go, "Oh, the worst driver of all time, the Sasquatch." I was like, "Oh, great, thanks. Good to know. Good to know." But
thank you with your junk, Uncle Jared.
yeah, thanks for giving me the hand me downs. So
Makes me wonder what Susan has and Jordan.
yeah, Mom, you have to point your mic at your face a little more because you're kind of. It sounds like you're far away.
Like,
I think so. I don't know. Why do we have to go through this every single time?
wait a minute, because I think okay, how is that
There we
better?
go. Much better. Yeah.
Okay, the light has to point down. I have to remember that. I always have it backwards.
Gotcha. What did you do this week, Mother?
Watch Grandma.
Just watch G.
About it. Watch
Is
Grandma.
she? Is it getting easier, Ma?
Well, this week was different because your dad wasn't around, right?
Visiting my brothers.
So it was just the two of us, and it was mellow. You know, we did our thing. No stress. Simple meals. Simple this. Simple that. But no, it was good. We
Grandma didn't try
made
to
it
make a
through
break for it. No
No,
jailbreaks
she
this time.
no jailbreak. She's pretty content. You know, she's got a good life here. I got to tell you.
Yeah, my
She's got
mom
three
said she
squares.
had to ask to go out on the deck. I was like, this is it. This is where she makes a break for it. Goes right off.
Currently has she currently has a bet with your dad that Indiana Pacers are going to be OKC tonight
It's funny
for a
how
dollar.
like I'm starting to see
Dollar.
even when Graham was here, I was starting to see her gambling addiction a little bit. She would bet Uncle Jerry so many times on sports. I'm like, Graham, you don't know anything about sports. She was betting on softball.
She doesn't care. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
That's for my mother. My grandmother was like that too. She
Well,
doesn't care.
I was watching the girls softball, college softball champions. Texas won for like the first time, which is pretty massive. But
Oh,
some of those, like, it can get intense. I was surprised. I was like, do I care about softball in general? No, but yeah, I'll have to grab my
when you're at that
teammates.
level, it's interesting. You know, when you're playing for a championship in a sport like that.
Yeah, in front of a pretty big, it's a substantial group of people for women's
Yeah.
sports. I will say.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they get more than the WNBA.
Well, softball's unique. I could be wrong, but softball's unique because I think it's always only just been for women. It's not like swimming and
Right.
women came
Yeah,
in
that's
or
true.
basketball women came in. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there was a guys softball league in college. I think it was always baseball.
Yeah, I think there's like recreational or like a rec team, but that's about it.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah,
still
a lot
listening,
of
Mom. I just
guys
want to
play
grab my
that.
tea.
But
Yeah,
that's what I
so
think
it
is
was pretty interesting to watch.
yeah. Well, I got some really talented players, you know, and like I said, I'll watch just about any sport when it's at the championship level, especially some of these obscure ones. Not that softball's obscure, but I wouldn't call it a fast-paced game by any means. Where'd you go? Guess I got to carry the load. We don't know what happened to him. Okay, I guess Chris went to go get his cup of tea, leaving us all hanging here.
I'm quick.
Oh, Chris.
I live. God, do I have to do everything around here? You couldn't carry it for
Yeah, basically.
two whole seconds, Ma?
How much? It was longer than 2 seconds. And how much do you want me to talk
Two.
about softball?
Oh, I forgot a spoon, damn it. Ugh.
Aren't we live?
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to be quick, but my mom can't carry a
Oh my
conversation.
gosh. Speaking of softball, have you seen the posts from Riley Gaines and Simone Biles regarding the high school championship team
Uh,
with the transgender pitcher?
Did you? Well, the only thing I saw on Simone Biles, right? That's the gymnast, right?
Yes.
She apparently on Twitter, someone went through like her old like tweets and stuff, and there's a picture of her like when she first started gymnastics or something, like high school level. She looks like a dude. I was like, whoa, like jacked. But that's just that sport for you, right? Like if you're being jacked in that sport, you're gonna have you're thin and you got a lot of muscle on you, so you're always gonna look jacked. But,
Yeah, but have you been following the controversy going on with her in the tweets?
no, what's been going on? Maybe that's
Oh
why
my
maybe that's why people brought it up. But no,
Oh my
give me
God.
the
Yeah,
scoop.
that's why they're bringing it up. So I just started to say the championship baseball girls, I'm sorry, softball team has a transgender male pitcher
Really?
and pitched a ridiculous game, 6-0 shutout, blah, blah, blah. So Riley Gaines posted it and said something to the effect of typical no comments underneath. I guess you could do that when your team
Yeah,
has
you
a
could turn
guy
off.
in it, right?
Stand
What's that?
up. I said
Oh,
you could
so
turn
anyhow,
comments off so that people.
so Simone Biles came back with, it's disgusting how you are like really picking on Riley Gaines for not supporting trans and being inclusive and blah blah blah. Well, that just opened up a floodgate of people with Simone Biles in terms of like Nancy Mace came in and said, "Honey, if men played in gymnastics, no one would even know your name."
No, it's probably true.
Yeah.
I just
Somebody
saw.
else wrote, that's coming from somebody who they have totally different apparatus and events in male gymnastics, proving that there is a difference between men and women. I mean, it just was one thing after another. But the best was Babylon B because they put Simone Biles telling women to give up just like she did.
Oh. Oh, well, I was surprised by apparently there was some high school team, I think it's like Denver or something, where they had a trans athlete, male to female, and he just shattered in one day, just shattered like all of
Yes,
the
that's the
track
team that
records.
won the
Yeah,
state championship. Oh, you're talking track or softball?
it was track. This was track.
Oh, okay.
Shattered
This
like
was
all the
softball.
records in track.
Right.
So
Well, there's a couple young ladies interesting at the recent one. They got a lot of attention. They wouldn't go on the podium. They
yes,
walked
I
away,
did see that.
which I think they have to start doing more of that and, push for
Let's just drink the tea bag.
a transgender league or whatever if they really want to have their own sport. But, uh, it's just not fair to women what's going on. Not fair at all. So something's going to have to be done about it. But anyhow, that was why you're seeing a lot of Simone Biles stuff because she came out, make these comments. She's just getting wrecked by people.
Speaking of things to see, did you watch any of the Rogan Cash Patel interview?
I've seen clips. Yes.
I feel like, maybe I'm a crazy conspiracy guy, but I feel like he's lying. I feel like I think there's more to the
No.
Yeah, well, Tim Dillon did a great breakdown on all the stuff that Attorney General has said versus what Cash Patel has said. So I like Cash Patel, but right, she's talking about how there's hundreds of hours of videos of the Epstein Island, right? Hundreds of hours of videos, and Cash is like, no, we haven't seen anything. So I'm like, hold up.
There was something when I read a headline, and I don't know if it's just the way it was written. I believe what he said could be true, just because the way it was worded. Like hers was Epstein Island, and his was no, we don't have any of Epstein somewhere else. So I don't know. I don't. We talked about this before. I really don't think it matters anymore. We tried to make a big deal of it they tried to bring in Mustard, bring in Donald Trump. We talked about this. Bill Gates walks around freely. We know he was there. Bill Clinton walks around freely. Nobody really cares. So now if you're not going to prosecute people, now they're just using it to blackmail or hang it over somebody's head. But, I don't see Trump losing sleep over the comment. I really don't. I
Yeah,
don't see him
but
losing
so not to
his
go right,
polling numbers either.
yeah, right to go
Huh?
into the Elon Trump stuff because you said this was kind of. I'm starting to agree with you on this one, which is the is the whole thing kind of real in the sense of the beef between the two. I'm sure there's been certain things, but the big tweet the other day was Elon was like, "Hey, I know you're on those files and blah blah blah, and it's all gonna come out." Now, what's interesting is, right, Kash Patel said, "I don't know how Elon would ever see documents on that." So that's my question, right? This is my thought process, Ma. You ready? And I think a lot of people agree with me. A lot of people, all the people,
People? Oh,
all
all
the all
people.
the people.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think so. The second that Elon tweeted that out, like the
Yeah.
Democratic Party tweet, like Twitter. So it's run by someone in the Democratic Party. I don't know who, but they were like release the Epstein files, which is what we've been trying to do for how long.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where if you can get both the Democrats and Republicans to say yeah, release it, then it's a lot easier to do. So I think
Right.
because Tim Dillon, I have to say Tim Dillon, I feel like is very spot on with this in the sense of if they had any dirt on Trump during his campaign, during the whole Epstein thing, they would have thrown it out there by now.
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
why there's probably no possible way that it's not that he's not on there. I mean, he probably is, but there's probably not enough information to say whether, like, I'm sure how many times, but parties and whatnot, or nefarious deeds, if you will. Um, so that's why I don't think that, one, Elon's seen it, if at all. Two, I do think that there's a little bit of a ploy here that I think kind of in the works behind. But hey, guys,
Yeah. I'm not. I think there's something to be said for whether it's legit or not. We do have bigger issues.
yeah,
And we people can go back and look at our podcast. We said, way back when Doge was just starting. I'm glad Musk did it. I'm glad we finally used there's a writer for the Wall Street Journal named Kim Strassel, and she was talking about it, and she had a very good point. She goes, Musk reflects the future of what we should do, using that entrepreneurial creativity to help our government improve. Right? That was the best of Doge to have finally something come in modern time using coding whatever systems to finally get to the bottom of stuff that goes on in our government and not hide and show transparency, etc., etc. She applauds that that's what was happening. Where it starts to get a little crazy is when the guy's sitting next to you, when he's got his kid there, when he's at every press briefing. It's like two arrogant people, and you know he's not the president, he wasn't
yeah.
elected. I'm glad they tapped into him and others. I hope they use who have expertise to help improve our government. But you got a couple of head cases there, and something was bound to happen.
Yeah.
So was it? It could be contrived. I find it hard to believe that the people around Trump would allow this to get out of hand. But I'm amazed at how much, even though I don't think it's been 100%, Trump has contained himself and act presidential.
What's funny is
He
I
knows that
don't
his moments.
see. Yeah, I don't see. Unlike his first term, I don't see him in the limelight as much for things that he actually said or did. Usually, there's like what I mean by that is usually there's a headline like he said this and it can be construed a certain
Right.
way or blah blah blah. Where he's kind of in this term, he's really kind of kept his mouth shut and let the people around him that he picked do the talking. And by talking, I mean the work. Like what Kash Patel's doing, what
Yeah.
Hexet's doing, all those guys. And I think you're kind of seeing the fruits of the labor or the picks that are in his cabinet. Like it's showing that he picked right is probably the better way of putting it.
So far, I mean, we have some reservations about some of these people, and I think some of them better start producing more. Like the Cash Patels and whatnot. If you're going to waste time on the Epstein files, and that's the irony. There was, that's so yesterday. We've moved on. We have bigger things now,
Right.
and I
Well,
do think in this particular instance, I know it sounds really crazy. Like I used to roll my eyes when people would make comparisons to Trump being the Lincoln and the Washington and the he. This is a pivotal moment, and to some extent, Democrats and Republicans have a lot to, and I'll put it in quotes, blame that Trump is at this point. He's working on a higher level here. Think about it. He is reining in the world basically
Right.
right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to do it at the same time, and we said this way before, whoever was going to be president the last administration, I said whoever gets it after this guy is going to have such a mess on his hands. And that's exactly true. We're fiscally falling apart. We've talked about how useless Congress is in general, right? Now we're seeing a mess with our Supreme Court, and they're literally sending in the National Guard to California,
I
to Los
know.
Angeles
I
tonight.
didn't grab an article on that, but it is crazy what's going on in California. Like it's almost like a lawless state right now.
Right, and the news people are trying to say, well, it's not really a riot. I mean, this is the game we're playing now. It's not really a riot. So they're trying to make it sound like Trump is overreacting because when we have the police and possibly the Marines, because Hegseth keeps saying everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
If you have these people marching on the streets, what an optical that's going to be for the midterms. But you know what? I think they're misjudging. That's exactly what we want in this country.
It's very strange to watch. It's very strange to watch ICE getting rid of all these minorities and stuff, or I shouldn't say minorities, sorry, illegal immigrants, and people trying to stop them, right? It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like you have an intruder in your home. We're trying to get him out of the home, but you're like, no, let the intruder stay.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
I think it is very scary what's going on over there, but what's not scary about it, I guess, is that, well, it depends on how you look at it, but like you could stop that. I think our military could stop that pretty easily. The question is the backlash of when you do it. So,
well, no, it's a baiting issue. So now you're going to bring the military out in Los Angeles. Mark my words, in a couple days, we're going to have the same thing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to have the summer of love all over again, like the George Floyd riots. This time, though, I hope this gets squashed right away out in Los Angeles. So these other cities learn nobody's going to care about the optics this time because this president has a mandate. We want these people out of our country.
Did you see there's a huge push right now to get Derek Chauvin out of prison now that all the files and stuff are out about the drug overdose? It's like, oh, this is going to get ugly. It's like, oh, this is going to get ugly again because, most people won't accept the fact that he wasn't killed by the guy. The guy's still a shitty cop, but died of a drug overdose. So, yeah, we're going to go down that road again eventually.
Right. Yeah, and if it happens, it happens. But we're at the point where should he have ever been put in prison in the first place? I mean, he had a trial. I didn't follow it, to every detail. Should we know that the whole persona of George Floyd was so warped by the BLM movement and the media that, okay, maybe he was a criminal and he was killed by a police officer, but they turned this man into a saint.
Well, I think
this is not someone who's a saint.
Yeah, he was not. But I think the problem at the time was the massive amount of misinformation where no one trusted anyone because of COVID. And the other fact against Chauvin was he knew George before, like they were both bouncers or something in a bar, which I'm pretty sure that still holds up. I think that's still true to this day. But now that we have the autopsies and stuff that say, hey, like, and more footage, I don't know what you do there because, like, it's going to be a shit show. Do you have a scapegoat?
Well, I think the reality, especially from that, you got to think on a bigger level. This was this happens all the time. Why then? Why in that moment? Right before the summer of an election year? What was the trigger? Now we know how many of these groups that were out there were being paid by, guess what? USAID groups. Okay?
Yeah.
Remember Doge came in? We're all starting to see the scam of it. And now that's why I say we're going to watch it again in Los Angeles. They're trying to ignite a fire because everybody loves chaos, right? Chaos is what creates.
It's because people like taking advantage of the chaos. So like I always think of the peaceful protests where again, there's nothing wrong with peacefully protesting, but when you start smashing stores just to steal TVs, we're not protesting anymore, are we? And unfortunately, that's what happened in a lot of these cities.
And that's why now we're at the point we have a particular president who's saying, I'm not putting up with it. And I will bring in the Marines and because this is how, like we always said, people keep getting away with it and it gets worse and worse. And then when you try to crack down, now all of a sudden says, you can't do that because you didn't crack down before, so you look like the bad guy. No, we have laws. They're lighting a Jeep on fire in the middle of LA. The dumb idiots almost blew themselves up in the process. It's not even their Jeep. Imagine if that's your car. Who the hell are these people? It's not bad enough if a citizen lights my car on fire.
Oh, did you
These
see?
people aren't supposed to be here.
Okay, right. I'm gonna put people in someone's shoes for a minute. I was watching a video. It was some protest. I couldn't tell if it was in America or not. Oh, what's up, Paris? If this guy takes his van and he's kind of in the center, just trying to get to work, dude.
Yeah.
And he just starts getting swarmed by people, right? And what do? They're gonna smash your windows. You don't know what's gonna happen to you. They're gonna pull you out and kill you. So you drive off. Then you start mowing down people. Then they come after you even more for mowing down people. Like what? Right. I don't know. If you were in that situation, I think the smartest decision is just to slam on the gas and go. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just very strange. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's what happened in 1992 in the middle of Los Angeles. They were protesting the Rodney King was beaten by some cops, right?
Yeah.
And there's one of the images from that horrible experience was a man being pulled out through the window of the truck, and they beat him, I believe, to death on the streets of Los Angeles.
Which is very sad.
That's what they're comparing this to now. This person had nothing to do with it. He was just driving his truck, and the mob just got crazy, which is why I hope this current president follows through and really squashes this and really makes an issue of all these individuals, because I guarantee you're going to see it in every other major blue city.
Mom, someone asked a question, and I think I can actually answer this. I just wonder whether this is constitutional to bring in the military. It is not an enumerated power of the president. I believe Biden, if I remember right, there was a whole thing on it. Biden actually had someone passed a bill during the Biden administration not too long ago, like within the last 6 months before he left, that actually allowed the military to be implemented in certain zones. So I think it was actually a bill passed by Biden. Rogan talked about it.
Normally, you wait for the governor to call in the National Guard. As you recall, with the January 6th protest, Trump had said, the National Guard's ready, but Pelosi and Muriel Bowser turned it down. They didn't want the National Guard for January 6th, so they had to enact it.
Patel said that on the Rogan podcast, that they all said, like, there's, the more, not to go off on a tangent here, but watching Kash Patel talk about the J6 stuff really opens your eyes if you had any questions beforehand, where you're like, assuming the FBI director is telling the truth, but he talks about a lot of the evidence that was there, and I was just like, oh wow, this whole thing was like, there's really no doubt anymore that there were people in on that. There was lot of people in Congress who were in on that. So yeah, I don't know, but he did say that there weren't as many agents as I think a lot of conservatives believe.
There's this was a little bit different, okay? This riot in Los Angeles started because I believe it was FBI agents. They locked them inside a building.
Right.
Okay. So right there, those are federal agents. And now we have ICE people and I believe DHS people. ICE, ICE.
Yeah. I
ICE
just like how you said the Icemen.
and they're being attacked. And those are federal agents. And they deserve to be protected. And if the state isn't going to bring somebody in, the federal government needs to intervene, because this is a federal program. This is not a state-based program. I can't touch the total legalities of it, but in this situation, I believe the president does have the right to get in there and squash this. Because keep something else in mind to this individual who's saying it. These are technically illegal invaders to our country. They are not citizens. Right. They do not legally belong here. So I know people say, but they've lived here 20 years, warm and fuzzy, everything else. That's the reality. You are not a citizen. Law. You are carrying a foreign flag through our streets, burning it, and you legally don't belong here. It is the responsibility of our federal government to get any invaders out.
Yeah. And also, Gavin Newsom's not doing shit about it.
No.
Gavin Newsom's probably on a drug binge somewhere.
No, be careful what you say, right?
Well, did you wait? Wasn't he with the Wasn't he? Who was the two guys that were caught with the cocaine bag on the plane? That was
I don't remember that one.
oh, that's oh, I'm sorry. Well, Gavin Newsom. Hey,
Yeah.
you're not out of the woods.
Oh, you're getting
It's
sued.
oh shit. It's no, that I confuse him with Macron and remember you didn't watch that video? It was
Trudeau?
like two oh Trudeau. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Trudeau? I don't
But
know.
the
Yeah,
laws don't
they're
just
both
protect
fun.
American citizens. I don't. Well,
I
no.
didn't hear
Yes.
what the question.
Someone said, but the laws don't just protect American citizens. Yeah, they do. Which law?
Well,
You'd
yes
have to
and
be
no. No, I mean, you obviously you're protected if you're visiting our country as a,
right
you know,
as a
we have a
visa. If you have a
responsibility
visa,
to keep, well, or a tourist. I mean,
yeah.
we have that responsibility. But when you're burning things on our, you know, if anybody comes in, whether it's a visa or whatever, and you as a citizen you get arrested, right? You get arrested by police, you get arrested by, you know, whatever. If it's out of control, the state decides to bring the National Guard. That's what we're talking about. In this situation, these are not citizens. And for all intents and purposes, no matter how long, whether they've been here a day or 10 years, you've invaded our country, and it's the president's right to keep our border safe and to remove these individuals. And when you're throwing things at federal agents, what are they supposed to do when they get outnumbered? Now you
Right.
have to bring somebody in. These are our federal agents. I pay
Yeah.
for their lives.
What do you
as
do when,
taxpayers.
right, to your point, what do you do when you're outnumbered? You have to bring in the military. You can't just let it run rampant. So
Right.
something's going to give at some point. So,
Right. And the media's trying to make it, they're already setting it up that, oh, this isn't that bad. So Trump is overreacting because he wants to look like a dictator. Okay. If we follow that logic, we're going to wind up with another summer of love where we're going to burn down cities and we're going to call it, oh, this is wonderful progress. Was not wonderful
which is
progress for the
crazy.
minorities. Yeah, for the minorities living in those cities.
I still think the craziest thing ever said was when Tim Walz' wife was like, I go outside and I smell the burning of tires. And I'm like, this is so great. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know?
Basketball, right? Any sort of destruction, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
but you can also even on a micro or micro scale is when people want to see the downfall of Tesla. It's like that's an American we talked about this on the last podcast, right? Remember how excited Tim Walz was
yeah.
when Tesla started, like the stock went down. It's like that's an American company that is trying to progress humanity, and you want to see it fall,
Yeah.
right? Whether you like Elon or not, but that's just so crazy to say. And then you have Kevin O'Leary going, "Wait, you have Tesla in your portfolio." That's your finances.
Right.
Why would you want your finances to fail? And it's like, yeah.
Right.
I here, I'll read it. Yeah, but the state's responsibility. That's a state responsibility. Prosecute Gavin Newsom, but I don't see where the president can use executive orders like this. As I said, though, but there's got to be some chain of command. The difference is, I don't think we've really seen anything of this scale before. Since when was, well, I guess, when was the, like,
What are we in reference to? What's going on in Los Angeles?
yeah.
Or just in
So
general?
saying
'Cause that's
prosecute Gavin
border.
Newsom, which, here, I'll read it to you again, Mom. Yeah, but that's a state responsibility. Prosecute Gavin Newsom, but I don't see where the president can use executive orders like this. Here, I'll Google it just to, go ahead.
I don't know. This really isn't an executive order, though. This is kind of the rights and responsibilities of the president of the executive branch, where he has the sole responsibility of protecting our borders. And if put it this way, if a boatload of, I don't know, Germans landed in New York with, you know, violently start tearing into the streets, yes, the first line of defense would be New York Police Department. But if they get overwhelmed, then it's up to the governor of the state to call in the National Guard to help them. And then if this still doesn't happen, right? And now they're going after federal agents. Now it's out of the control of the governor of that state. Now he needs, in theory, Gavin Newsom should be contacting the president saying, "Hey, wait a minute." Here.
Yeah,
But
because we know that's happening. Here, let me
Right.
read this real fast. So this is just a quick Google search based on Google's AI. Yes, the president can send military to California to stop riots, but not in the way it might seem at first glance. The Insurrection Act is the legal mechanism that allows the president to deploy the National Guard or even active duty military forces to a state to suppress insurrections, rebellions, or civil disorder. So I guess you'd have to prove there's got to be some thing in place that proves whether something is a rebellion or a civil disorder. This wouldn't fall under insurrection because it's not a government. You're not.
yeah,
They're not
these
going
are
to.
foreign people
Right,
that
so-
we are removing,
Right.
right? Keep that in mind. Everybody wants to make draw the conclusion that, well, but they've been here forever. Illegally, they have been here forever.
Right.
They're not U.S. citizens. And anybody who breaks the law, number one, they get arrested. You have to stop them from breaking the law. And when I say that, I mean especially when they're beating somebody on the streets or lighting things on fire. And then you process them. They're citizens. They have one processing. If you're an illegal and there's many of you and you're all doing it in conjunction, at some point this crosses over into the area of this is an insurrection, not of your own people, but of a foreign country, right?
Yeah, I guess at what point does something become terrorism? I get like I want to know what I'm sure it's a long list of things, but I wonder what the definition on paper of terrorism is.
Well, there are certain things that you have to meet to qualify as a terroristic act, right? Normally, it's something to do with it. Normally, it's not considered a terrorist act if it's like it's an ally country. If you're from an ally country, oftentimes it's somebody that we're having trouble with. Yeah, there's a whole checklist of things. I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense. Oh, it's probably a long checklist that no American goes through. So.
Well, I mean, you could be an American terrorist. We've had instances of that. But
no. I mean, like, no one's ever actually, like, I'd love to see that list, but it's probably so unbelievably long of what makes someone, like, classifies them as a terrorist. Like, have you ever seen what it takes to be considered a serial killer? It's like, the list is like 100 pages long, and you have to hit all the criteria.
Yeah, for them to classify you as a serial type killer. And then you
so that's why, there's a lot of checks you got to hit before you fall under those. But but either way, law or not, something's got to be done over there. And has Gavin Newsom even said anything yet?
I've heard some postings from him, and the headline was, it was on a conservative site, but the headline was, "Cry a little more, Gavin Newsom, no one cares." It's like, nobody cares.
I mean, he I know more people that moved out of California because they couldn't stand Newsom anymore than I know people that, I don't think I know anyone that's ever willingly moved to California.
Let's just keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago that huge parts of that state was on fire.
Yeah.
Right?
And are uninhabitable.
And now you've got non-citizens lighting cars on fire on the streets. Now, even if I was the most liberal and supportive of Gavin Newsom, if my house burnt down from a fire, and now I'm watching people who aren't even citizens starting fires, I mean, I'd be a little bit skittish just from fires in general.
Yeah.
And now they're willingly lighting things on fire on the streets. At some point, we as a nation, we have to stop this. We can't just have this kind of and call it protests. That's not a protest.
Yeah.
And for those of us old enough to realize it, I don't know who's asking questions, but we've had laws on the book. The Supreme Court, I believe, weighed in on it. This was many years ago. For instance, you can't protest in front of an abortion clinic if you're anti-abortion. You have to be a certain distance away, right?
The checks that I was talking about.
You can only do certain things. You can't yell. You can't do anything. Okay, that's an issue. Why doesn't that pertain to any protest in this country? Why is it that you're allowed to be fighting and pulling on an ICE agent who's trying to do his job, whether he agrees with it or not? That's okay. But for other types of protests, oh no, that we have to have a distance, that we have to show decorum, and that we have to... That's where I have problems here. A protest is a protest. I believe everybody has the right to protest in this nation. That's our free First Amendment right.
Right.
To have protests, you march, you blah, 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 blah. We have morphed that into certain groups, it's okay if you get violent. But other groups, you can't do that.
Right.
So, that's great. Let's applaud the violence. They're really getting their message across by burning things.
Yeah. Destroy.
They don't
how many businesses who had nothing to do with it, how many families were destroyed, their livelihoods, because they just had a shop on the street that got destroyed and insurance wouldn't cover it. Minority-owned businesses that were burnt down during the Summer of Love by pro-BLM individuals. And you saw these poor people crying, saying, this is my whole life. What am I going to do now? Oh, but Black Lives Matter, right? And these were minorities. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just the white people. No, it was... That's why you question, what was really the point? Yeah.
What was the message of this group?
Again, I just remember all the people that were actually trying to make a change, and then just like the small minority of them, I guess, started destroying things. But the problem is, You never hear about the peaceful ones. You hear about the smashing of windows and stuff. So that's why the whole BLM movement fell apart. Then you find out that the head honchos of the BLM were just abusing the money. The lady bought like 14 houses, remember, using the donation money. I think she's in prison now, but I'm not sure.
But also too, for me, I don't want my federal tax dollars spent. We're doing basically Gavin Newsom's job. Okay?
Right.
Protect the citizens of your state. The citizens. No, he's decided I have to protect everybody. Well, that's very honorable, but you're not the one who has to keep paying for them, to pay to protect them, to pay for their services. And we elected a president because the rest of the country has said, we don't want to do that anymore. So you know what? You get them out of your country, or you pay for everything and stop taking federal dollars to do it. Oh, I mean, your state, yes. Yeah. But to that person's point, Gavin Newsom doesn't want to do anything. That's not fair to the citizens of California who, guess what? They don't want these individuals in their country.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to not do anything. I mean, he has to take care of his vineyard, you know, when he rerouted all of the water from the city to his vineyards while no one else had water. Maybe that was the thing. Remember when he got recalled and miraculously, like the night before he was about to lose, they just find some votes that kept him in? He got recalled. It's like
Tim Walz when his state was burning during the summer of love. Now we get to go in with federal dollars and help bail it out. Where was their governor? Too busy smelling the smoke outside with his wife.
The other thing that bothers me is, you know, they haven't even like started fixing Hawaii yet. Like Hawaii, remember the Hawaii fires?
Yeah.
They haven't even, remember all the money that these Oprah and The Rock tried to raise, and then they raised it. Whatever happened to that money? Because it didn't go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So
that's the chronic problem with everything in this country. That's why it's sad to say, but I'm reluctant to give to anything because I don't trust it's going to go to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, that's true. So stop paying taxes, everyone. I think that's what my mom's saying. Stop paying taxes.
No. Trust me, I've had my moments.
Yeah.
A few times in my lifetime, I'm like, this is getting crazy.
Yeah.
What am I paying for here? But
well, let me tell you, they've been doing road work on my street for the last 2 years, and they haven't figured it out yet. So, come on. There's been no progress. Can't take that long.
That's nothing.
Yeah. That's a problem.
They're still fixing it by Scranton, Chris.
Yeah, going to school. I bet you that thing's still not finished after 8 years.
Oh, my gosh.
But I think unions have really destroyed. How do I put this lightly? I got to put this without talking too much shit, but I think let's instead of unions, let's go by tenure. Like, because I was having a talk about how useless teachers are nowadays. Tenure was the dumbest thing we ever put in this country. I think, I was watching a podcast actually with a grade school teacher. What's up, Brendan? With a grade school teacher that it made sense. Like, obviously for younger kids and development and all that, the teachers should have the tools and stuff that they need. But like, I know kids that go to universities who never meet their teacher because they just do a TA. They hit tenure, they sit at home, and then they just have a TA teach. Like, how's that allowed? So,
yeah,
I don't know. I think our education system's going down too. But now I'm going a little bit on a tangent. Now I'm angry, Ma. Yeah. Now I'm pissed.
Everybody's now writing in the comments, don't get your mother started, please.
Oh, I can't. Tenure pisses me off. There's definitely some teachers out there that deserve it, but I definitely know more teachers than not who do not deserve it. So,
just to put it in perspective, I was reading an article. We've talked about these articles before, but there was one last week about how English majors in an Ivy League cannot critically read English literature.
Well, I was talking
what?
About, yeah, I was talking to someone about don't get your mother started. Yeah, my mom will go on it. Average guy will go. This is like, listen, you guys call this a podcast? This is literally what our dinners were when I was home, where my mom would just be like, those goddamn teachers were like, Mom, I'm just trying to eat my steak. She's like, get rid of schools. No, but I was talking to someone about Ivy League schools because I had to explain to them the difference between like an Ivy League school and then like Harvard doesn't hold its weight anymore, but Harvard Law School is still big. Right. So like how there's like different parts of different schools. But I was just thinking like how do I put this like without too much information?
Yeah, well, that's so you understand. There's a difference between a university and a college.
Yes.
So a university has multiple schools within it. A college doesn't usually, they may have multiple majors, but they don't necessarily break it out into different schools.
Yeah. But So when certain people I know get a lot of paper of kids that want to work for them from Harvard, Cornell, Princeton, Dartmouth.
Resumes.
Resume. Sorry, I don't know why. What did I say? I don't even know. I was doing two things.
Paper
I was reading the right, looking at the left.
Do you all now understand what those dinners were like for
yes,
me?
yeah. Sorry, because I'm doing two things at once here. Three things actually. But the problem with that is, the problem with that was all of the resumes were essentially the same. These kids have Ivy League degrees, but they have no social skills. They have no experience. So it's like, great, you went to a great school, but I don't want to teach you how to do this shit. So they just hire regular people for less. It's like, oh, okay. So,
well,
Harvard is not worth its weight in gold anymore.
I mean, we're exposing academia in general.
Yeah.
And people were trying to say, well, that's the lower schools, they're struggling, blah, blah, blah. And coming to find out, no, it's not the lower schools. Ironically, it's being pushed at the upper level and it trickles down and it goes all the way down to the grade school level. And now these universities, when you have like I say again, an English major who can't decipher literature, not a math major who has to take an English class, right? Not a science student who's taken an English class. You would think that they would be pretty good critical thinkers if they've quote unquote made it into an Ivy League school. The English majors can't discern a piece of literature. Okay. I don't care that you're an Ivy, and for that you're paying $90,000 a year, right? Some of these schools are that expensive. Yeah. So, I mean, now the universities can't hide it anymore. That I don't know if it's a function of DEI, but I think it's trickling down because we know that there are people. Now, I'll just say this as an aside. I know someone who knows a young teacher who is teaching in New Jersey. We have something called the Abbott districts here. Yeah. And this happens in different areas, but you get special funding. So they created these districts so that, say, wealthier districts that have more money, they share the funds with these poorer districts so that they can, improve and become better schools. Well, this young teacher, she was making great strides in this Abbott district school with her class. The kids were doing well, and she was pulled aside and she was told, stop.
Yeah, right.
Because we won't get the federal funding if our grades, our scores improve. Okay, now that's indicative of the quality of education in our country. Multiply that by how many.
Oh, she's throwing microphones. Here we go.
And schools and whatnot, and that's also another reason why you see so many students mainstreamed who have learning issues. Didn't have that when I was a kid. You didn't have as many kids with that or identified with it, but you also didn't have that. They went to special schools.
You also didn't have kids with peanut allergies. What the hell happened there?
Well, allergies that doesn't really affect your learning ability, right? I mean,
I can't have a peanut in the room or fucking Casey's gonna die.
Yeah, really. No swearing. Anyhow, it's one of those things where you get more money for more kids that you have with issues. So at some point, where do we cross over for putting these kids in, whether they should be there or not, just to get the funding, or are we really trying to bring marginal kids into the regular school system? All these things need to be looked at. I mean, they've completely botched. And you start with exactly what this president's doing. Get rid of the Department of Education. Let the states decide.
Rephrase that. Rebuild the Department of Education, because that's what they're doing. I think a lot of people say destroy and end it, but they're going to rebuild it from scratch.
I don't think so. I hope not.
They're going to redo an education system. You have to have an education.
No, you put it by the states. That's where it was.
Okay, so that just means that you're going to... Okay.
Carter or Bush. Was it Carter? I don't forget.
Potato.
No, our scores were better as a nation when the states handled it. So you know what? If California wants to spend half the day on transgender, let's see how those kids perform. If Mississippi, guess what? Alabama, phenomenal scores down there. They're back to a classic education. When you guys were younger, you didn't live in Alabama because the school system stunk. Guess what? These southern states are doing a phenomenal job with the basic education.
That is a good topic. My buddy Ross used to teach music in middle school, so to middle schoolers. He told me a story of how the school removed music on the pretext that class scores were down. He fought it, but lost. Scores dwindled even more. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
from a financial standpoint, if you have to cut something, like one thing that my YMCA used to do all the time, which never made sense to me, is like our gym at home, where my parents are, is a massive YMCA that has a lot of different departments, and like you have the gym, you have the swim pool, you have the basketball gym, you have gymnastics, you have all these classes. If any of those classes were failing, the wellness center gym would have to like make up for the cost. So the reason I bring that up is it's annoying because I'm sure what ended up happening is they needed to make cuts somewhere, and music wasn't as important as everything else, so they just cut it. And that's why, like,
Right.
that's kind of the YMCA. But go ahead.
Right. And even when I was younger, we had music and we had art. You also had to have a language. Okay. There is tremendous value in music
Yep.
for thinking and for young children. There's tremendous value in art for thinking and for young children. I will, not knowing the situation of this person's, I think you said it was his brother,
Buddy, buddy,
a buddy.
just a friend.
I would probably venture to guess that if you have to get rid of music, fine. What did they replace it with? Transgender study?
Yeah, what they add.
Socially, how do we get along as people in the world? Like that's what I'm saying. And we've had this conversation. When you guys were young, all I ever heard was, we can't teach the test. We're so busy getting through the day. We can't teach the test, because they tried to test all the schools and have standardized testing. And then they had the Common Core stuff. I don't know if you remember that term, okay? The public school education, they're always coming up with these great ideas. And the teachers would revolt. We can't do that. We don't have time. That's all I ever heard. Fast forward COVID, now all of a sudden we got time for all this other stuff, transgender, and anti-bully day, and we're gonna have a meet and greet. Maybe all that stuff's valuable, but how do we go from having no time to testing kids to see if they're learning to now I got time to do all this other stuff? And by the way, scores are going down. I say bring back music and get rid of the other stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go back to something real fast, because this is something I did want to talk to you about. Let's talk about Trump wanting to close down Harvard and the Ivy Leagues. I don't think, right, that's not what he wanted. He wanted to take out all the foreign students from these Ivy League schools, right? Wasn't that what he originally wanted? Because of how, well, I mean, let's go back to, 2 years ago now, where we found out Harvard was discriminating against white students. And they were all Asian students. Yeah.
Bought the case. So they brought it on behalf of other minorities, but basically they identified the racism involved in there, and the Supreme Court looked at it and they agreed that they have to change their ways, if you will.
So,
and that's a precedent for other schools. No, Trump's issue is we do federal funding to these schools. Why? They've got billion-dollar endowments.
Yeah.
They don't pay taxes on it. Okay. And they also get federal funding. And when you look at the federal funding of what's going on with research and whatnot, a small amount goes to the research. A big chunk goes to these universities because they run the research, meaning the staffing, the this, the that. There was just to give you perspective, there was a young man from Brown recently who asked this question. We are a school of 7,000 students. Why are there, and it was an absurd number of administrators at the school. They tried to kick him out of the school. Okay. I think he sued or whatever, and they had to put him back in. But just for asking that question, he brought to the attention that it is so top-heavy paying salaries. And schools like that, they're not fully funded on their own. Those are our tax dollars.
Right.
So when Trump looks at what's going on in these schools, and when you've got CCP people in there, and we could talk about University of Michigan next if you want to, my article with the fungus.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I was very surprised by that.
Students with visas who, by the way, 36-year-old students, okay, they could be graduate level students.
Yeah.
Because, the one guy, Muhammad, whatever his name is in New York, that everybody's screaming about him having his visa revoked, being kicked out. I think he's a 36-year-old man. I'm going to hope he's at the graduate level, or is he just somebody who is going to Columbia, right, as a student? And for those of you listening, and we've had this conversation, how do you have time during finals to be outside protesting all day long?
I was a guy that would just learn it all in the classroom, so I didn't have to study, so I get it.
Okay. Ivy League,
Thanks,
supposedly a challenging institution. The creme de la creme of the world, by the way. But yet you don't have to go to class every day, assuming they don't have class. How are these individuals protesting during finals? I barely had time to
Well,
eat with my peers during finals.
remember like when the Palestine Hamas stuff or Israel Palestine stuff just started, there were all these student protesters, and then they looked them up, and like half of them weren't even students. They were just people
Yes,
pretending to be students on
right.
visas. It was like,
And
oh
then,
my god.
right, and these are schools getting our federal dollars. I just saw an article now about this, again, back to the LA riots, that some of these groups are being funded by our federal dollars who are out there rioting.
Yeah.
What the hell? Okay. What is going on here? My tax dollars are helping some group burn down my cities? Come on. So, yes, that's not what Trump said. And also, they were looking at the tax status. Why aren't these universities paying taxes? They get tremendous amount of money. They have endowments. They could fund everybody's education every year. No one would need a loan. But somehow the federal government we have to back these loans to people who want to do, political science, women in history, whatever, blah, blah,
The
blah.
football team cannot take a hit, Ma.
Oh my God.
The Harvard football team, which is 0 and like 50, cannot be taken L's because they're tax exempt. Yeah, but they shouldn't be tax exempt, right? That's what we're saying. It doesn't make sense that they're tax exempt.
Well, how do you justify it anymore on these endowments? I don't know, and that's what they're calling into question.
Yeah, it's only profits. It's only profits. Like, I do think that every school, not just the Ivy Leagues, I think they have kind of become not money laundering schemes, but I think the sports are way more important because of how much money they're businesses. They're businesses, right? So, like, when I see these NIL deals of some of these kids getting $10 million to play football at a college level, like, that's where like, you could do that, but you can't pay taxes. Yeah, you're tax exempt, but you shouldn't be.
Well, put the cart before the horse. When did we start paying $30 million salaries to a college football coach?
Yeah.
When you start doing that, now you have to question, hey, these guys are only as good as the players that are brought in. How do you justify paying them tens of millions of dollars, right? And not give the athletes who are making them look good some money? It's a vicious cycle going, in my opinion, going in the wrong direction. They just passed something this week. It's like a multi-billion-dollar settlement so that they could start paying these athletes. So college sports is dead. I mean, it's gonna.
It's only a matter of time.
Is changing.
I think I think the problem is we're gonna start getting to the point. Well, two things are gonna happen with college sports. One, teams are going to start getting stacked, and these kids, I'm getting paid for 4 years anyway. Who cares if I go to the NFL or whatever? Like, sports are going to start going down. The other thing is, and we talked about this with Ned on my brother's podcast when I was home. The NIL pool is a total sum of money that goes to all of the sports. So they don't break it up. Maybe the school does, but there's nothing that says they have to break it up. So what I mean is they say they have $100 million. There's nothing that says you can put 20 into men's football, 20 into men's basketball, 20 into girls lacrosse. There's nothing that says you have to do that, to my understanding.
Title IX.
Yeah. But the problem is, Title
IX says you do.
Allegedly.
But percentage-wise, you have to fund female sports the same as you do a certain level as the men's sports.
Right, but funding the athletes themselves. That's what I mean, the NIL. So what I mean is, let's say, we want Sadur Sanders or whatever his name is for $15 million. They can pull it from the girls lacrosse because they don't care about the girls lacrosse because it's not doing as well. Give it to Sadur, and then, oh my God, our football team's through the roof. So I think the NIL is going to kill college sports either way. I think you're going to see each school have one great team rather than multiple good teams, or you know what I mean? But I think Title IX only defends like the school money going into the sports. I don't think the money pool for the NIL deal, I don't think Title IX falls under that.
Well, no, yes, that's probably. I don't know enough to say that, but yeah, let's assume that. But that's exactly what's going to happen because women's lacrosse doesn't pay the multi-million dollars. And you have to remember, these, especially the big schools, they're getting contracts with all the sports TV online worth tens of millions of dollars, aside from anything from the NIL, just because NBC wants to put on the Penn State games, the Notre Dame games. That's a huge revenue generator.
Not to mention,
some schools even switch their leagues because of it.
Yeah, exactly. But not to mention the extra level of politics on it. Like I remember, I forget who it was, but Dave Portnoy and some CEO's wife, they were going back and forth trying to get this kid to be on their teams, and then they were offering money. It's like, what is this? I thought this was college sports. Kids are there to learn first and foremost, but it seems like we care more about our sports than anything because it's the big moneymaker. And then that goes back to the point of how sports, I think, so back to the fact that these colleges are just businesses and education is second.
Well, I mean, college is a business. It always has been.
Obviously, but
Normally, up until 6 years ago, you went to high school and very few people went to college. Only certain people went to college, right? And you didn't have the number of colleges you had today, right?
Right.
And you got a blue collar job and you raised your family in middle America and it was wonderful, okay? Then it morphed into getting benefits and getting an education, and that's when the whole Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac will fund you to go to college. It won't cost you money, and that's when it started to explode, and they turned it into a business. Sports-wise, people would pick. It was originally like your state team. States decided to fund colleges to give those young people who couldn't get into a private college an education, which is why you got your state schools. And to help fund it, you had sports teams, right? And they would compete. And those sports teams gave the school recognition. It was a way of rah-rah, you're the local kid who went to Penn State University, and you love your team, you love your town, you love your state, blah, blah, blah. This has morphed into the business of sports because you have so many more things coming into it, like I said, between athletes getting paid a ridiculous amount of money and the upper levels looking to recruit young people, et cetera, et cetera. We've gotten out of the business of education. And at the same time, for a lot of reasons that we've talked about, education just keeps declining. So the brick and mortar, I don't think will last forever in terms of schools.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. It's going the way of online. We learned from COVID that was going to happen. And, I don't know if you heard, but someone we know just recently got a small settlement from their state school because of COVID. So the students had a lawsuit against the state school because they shut down in-class learning in the spring of 2020. And they were not made aware of that when they applied to go for the spring semester.
Right.
So the state school wound up settling for $17 million.
Damn.
For 70,000 students. So everybody got like a small $150 somewhat check. But they acknowledged, through the settlement, that they were deprived of the education that they were promised because it was online. If you set the expectation that it's an online class, you can't charge the same as in-house tuition
Right.
with, classrooms and teachers on site and rec halls and
let me tell you, I'm getting really sick of, like, even today, because I was watching some news stuff. I don't remember what exactly it was on, but I'm getting sick of the whole, it was COVID time and we didn't know what we were doing. It's like, yeah. Okay, you can't, we're almost 4 years past that now. 5 years. You can't keep using that. The federal government should not subsidize private schools, but I do believe that public schools should be free. True. However, if this happens, then the government will be a market participant. Potentially raising unconstitutional. Oh, yeah. Yeah. How do I put this? Well, here, let me read it to Mother a little bit. Sorry. Someone said, I agree. The federal government should not subsidize private schools, but I do believe that public schools should be free. By public school, yeah. However, if this happens, then the government will be a market participant, potentially raising unconstitutional issues of interference.
I agree with that. I have never been a proponent of school vouchers in the sense that I do not want federal dollars in religious schools, right?
Right.
Once the federal government's in, then the federal government has a say. And I don't think that's right. I do not. It works both ways, separation of church and state. If you want to go to private school, now, I'm not talking the wealthy schools, but, if you want to go to a private wealthy school, you figure out how you're going to pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to go to a private school that's, say it's a religious school and it's a parochial, they tend to be cheaper and they tend to have a plan for you to pay for it, okay? But that's for each religion, whether it's a Jewish school or Hebrew school, I should say, or a Catholic school, whatever. The answer is, in the short term, I understand school choice. Get your voucher, get your kid out and get them in a decent school, especially with what we see going on. The long-term answer and the right answer, in my opinion, is fix the public school system.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is going by scores. And our scores keep going down, down, down. And parents are going to meetings and parents are saying something's not right here. Parents, and our heads have been spinning since COVID as to what the actual garbage is that's been going on in too many public schools. But here's the thing. It's not my problem to fix the schools in other states, right? They don't listen and they don't have to. So that's back to what we were saying before. We don't need a federal agency. Let each state decide. And if I don't like the school system and what they teach in the public schools in New Jersey, move. Go to a state that you do like, right? That's the answer. Fix the teachers, fix the contracts, fix what's being taught. You can fix it. But everybody's looking for I don't want to say the easy way out. But if you don't fix it, you're right. As a parent who can't afford necessarily other schools, give me my tax dollars. They used to say to us, because you kids all went to not expensive schools, but private schools, right? Religious schools. They used to say, well, you get to use the facilities of the public schools and you get the value of that public school in your house when you go to sell your home, right? Baloney. Half the time, people are more interested in how many private schools they could possibly put their kids in, right? That's what made our house valuable, because there were so many schools in this area that people could go to, some of which are now too expensive for the average person. We also have a decent public school, but the scores in our school aren't that fabulous considering how much tax dollars they get. But that's when you bring it down into the local level. The parents or the people in the town should decide where their tax dollars go, not on the federal level. So I somewhat agree with that person in what they're saying.
We just did an hour. So does anyone have any other topics to talk about before we go into news articles that we can rip? We'll give it like 30 seconds, see if anyone has anything to say.
Oh, didn't we hit on some of the news articles?
Not as many. Like, I'd like to go into more detail on some of them. But
University of Michigan. We touched on that one.
I will have to cut some of these out, I think.
Yeah, pick whichever ones you want. We did, interestingly enough, the reverse discrimination case. That was big. It didn't get a lot of attention because of the Elon Musk stuff with Trump. But that's kind of what we were saying before about universities and the reverse discrimination. A woman won her case 9-0. Every Supreme Court justice agreed. And Katani Jackson wrote the opinion on it. Of all people.
Thank you. Switch 2. So we can go right to the Switch 2. Anything specific on the Switch 2, Brendan?
Supreme Court to switch to.
That's what someone asked. Who wanted it?
That's fine. That's fine. Not my expertise. Go ahead.
What about it?
They're advertising it a lot more, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. What was I saying? So the way we normally do these, guys, when we get into articles, is we'll do the article and then we'll ask for any questions on the
you just asked for questions.
Yeah. Topics, but I'm just saying when we start the articles, then we'll do questions on the article, and then at the end we'll just do Q&A and you guys can ask whatever you want. Politics, YouTube, games, whatever. Or just family stuff. Like, who's the favorite child, Ma? Is it me? Ma, is it me? Is it me?
Let's move on.
Supreme Court case.
What's the switch to question? Do they have one?
Switch 2.
Do they like it?
So it wasn't even a question. It was, I said, do you want a question? They said, switch 2. It's bad. You don't need to. So, but one thing that I saw, so this was the only article I had on the Switch 2, which was pretty funny. So, remember a couple weeks ago, I think 2 weeks now, when we talked about it, they asked why were the prices so high? And they talked about tariffs. They were like, oh, we think the Trump's tariffs are going to really do a thing on it and like really hike the price. So people go, okay, we're going to be mad at Trump because the tariffs and my Switch is going to cost so more. And then the guy, the Nintendo president, literally today goes, Nintendo president says Switch 2's lower than expected sales forecast is due to its high price, not tariffs. So they didn't expect to sell as many, so they hiked the price up and tried blaming the president for tariffs. So it's just like, hey, maybe you should have like gone around to the company and said, hey guys, we're all just going to say that it's tariffs so that we don't have to deal with this. But they couldn't even keep a secret. But the Switch 2, the more I see on it, the cooler it is in the sense of it has everything that you want in the sense of like, it's better than the Switch 1. It's not worth getting though. If you don't have a Switch, like if you were like, man, I want a Switch and the Switch 2 is coming out, get the Switch 2 instead of the Switch 1, obviously. I think the coolest feature of it, Mom, is the, I don't have my Switch on me, but the, if you, so you like, you know that you take the arms off, like you could take the control parts off. If you put it on the ground, it becomes a mouse. So with the right and left click. It's pretty cool. Neat. So I was like, whoa. Yeah. So that's the highlight of the whole thing. So it's a nicer screen, but I hear that the new...
How much more is it from the regular?
So I believe this new one's $500, so it's a full console. I think the Switch 1, when it came out, was $300. The Switch was fairly cheap.
Santa ain't going to swing that this year. Santa's not swinging
But Ma, your 30-year-old wants...
Yeah, really. No, I'm
Ma!
Parents with young children.
Ma, I want a Switch too. Give me...
Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah, it's cool, but I think the biggest announcement that we had, just to keep it on video games right now. So right now they're doing all the showcases for like PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. The Xbox finally is going to have its own handheld device, which we've never had before, right? We've always had the PSPs. It's just that rogue, like those Steam Decks that I showed you.
Yeah.
You know, the Steam Decks? But this one is literally made for the... It's literally designed with Xbox in mind. So I will show the viewers it, but I don't want to... I can't share my screen on Discord because it'll move everything, but... yeah, the mouse thing is cool. Yeah, right? Right, Paris? I thought it was cool. Let me show the... It looks like...
So you could use it as a mouse for everything, not just games for Switch?
Yeah,
like
well, it just acts like a cursor. But so this, you guys can't see us right now. But so this is the new one. The new... It's literally just a rogue ally with the Xbox controllers and stuff. And what's cool, Mom, is it connects to your PC, your Xbox, and the Rogue device as well. So like I can play all my Xbox games on that, on my PC and my Xbox simultaneously. So it's like that they finally did like the family pairing thing, you know? Ecosystem. Oh, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. One whole ecosystem, which is pretty nice. But all the more reason why to not get the Switch. Now, is it going to be expensive? More than likely, but if you're getting a computer, it's a little different. Because, like, to get a high-end computer right now, like, if I was getting a new 50 series graphics card, like, a 5090 right now is just $3,000. That's, like, more than most custom builds. Yeah, well, I say just $3,000, as in that's part of the computer. That's not the whole computer. So that takes up $3,000 of the price. Is just a graphics card. So if the Rogue... so if the Rogue... Xbox, well, I forget what it's called, the Xbox Ally. If that comes out to $1,500 and you're getting a PC out of it, essentially, might make more sense. But if it's $500, it is the same as the Switch 2. I don't know why I would ever buy a Switch 2. What, for Mario Kart? Mario Kart sucks. It's been the same thing for 20 years now, 30 years.
Go see the movie.
Yeah, go see them. Yeah, let's go to Universal. Yeah, same thing. So I have no real interest. I haven't touched my Switch in 2 years probably. That's not true. Like when people come over for wine night, it gets pretty lit. When I'm wine drunk and I'm just like, get out of the way, drifting.
When as adults come over and drink wine.
When everyone's very intoxicated on wine.
Yeah.
And we got 8 controllers set up to the thing. That's always fun. Till we start swearing and someone punches someone, but it's whatever.
Oh, come
on. But yeah, that's literally all the gaming news that we had. Any other questions gaming-wise? Silk Song. Is anyone excited for Silk Song, which we still don't have a release date for? Only been teased for about 5 years. Anyway, let's move on.
I don't know what it is.
Let's
move
on.
I don't know what that is.
Let's go to the Chinese, going back to what we were talking about with the college stuff. So I'm going to read the title of this, and you can give us the information, because this blew my mind, because she looks like such a sweet girl.
Yeah.
Chinese scholar charged in conspiracy to smuggle dangerous biological pathogen through Detroit Metro Airport.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
University of Michigan student and researcher boyfriends. There's two people involved in this. Jian or Jian, I don't know how to pronounce it. Received China funding to do research on dangerous pathogens in China. So naturally, you got to bring it here. The Fusarium graminearum causes head blight, which spreads through wheat, barley, maize, and rice. I wonder why Chinese want to buy so much of American land.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I digress.
Mom's throwing shade out here to the CCP.
Her boyfriend Lynn brought it over for University of Michigan girlfriend. She had brought some in earlier. So the two of them been smuggling the stuff in, and I actually posted. There's a picture on Twitter.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'll
brought it in there.
Looks like this.
I didn't bother to keep going with the article because you know what? On what level do we discuss this? It's a flat out no.
Yeah, but
after all we've been through in this country with COVID and everything else and pathogens, don't be bringing in the fungus, please. Yeah, we don't need it.
This goes to wait, hold on. I want a Chinese scholar. So she's Chinese scholar at the University of Michigan. Her boyfriend. Scholar means she's a teacher?
A student there.
Okay. So this goes back to what you were saying before. 33 and 34. How are they students?
Yeah. Well, she's probably a research student, probably at the graduate level. Okay, I can.
That's the question I forgot to ask you before, Mom. When teachers get grants from colleges, does the government give it to the college to give to the researcher, or is it directly from government to researcher?
It goes through the college because the college actually applies for the grant to do. So the doctor will go to the college, the university, and say, "I want to apply for this grant." The college sponsors the research, if you will. So they're going to get like an administration fee. And that's what people have been learning about over the last, since Trump's been in office, how ridiculous these fees are and how so much more goes to the university than actually goes to the research, right?
Right.
So in this particular case, number one, I'm not keen on anybody tied to the CCP being in our universities.
Agreed.
Number two, I'm not keen on them and their boyfriend bringing in pathogens after what we went through with the Wuhan
just doing
lab.
Scientific studies, Mom. She's a researcher.
Well, I'm curious to hear how they're going to wiggle their way out of this conversation when they're in court. You know, what the excuse is going to be for this. They're probably going to wind up paying a flat-out fine, going to jail. Or at a minimum, could we deport them? Get out of the university, pull the visa, and go home. Do your research in China. Okay? Go do it over there.
Therapy chatbot tells recovering addict to have a little meth as a treat. Nothing wrong with a little meth. Therapy chatbot.
Meta's large language model Llama 3 told a former addict, his name Pedro was the name they used, use some meth to get through the tough week. Have a little methamphetamine. Chatbot told him meth helps him do his taxi driving better. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Methamphetamine is going to help you drive your taxi better. Okay, so tell him to take a drug. Okay. The bots are also programmed for users of the chat to spend more time with them. So we're starting to find that a lot of these negative things that are coming for these chatbots on top of it, they're being programmed to say, hey, spend more time with me. Or I'm simplifying it, but users of them are finding they're going back again and again and again, and it's by design. They're trying to get these individuals to be more involved with their chatbot. Character AI allegedly, so this is an example of another chatbot called Character.ai, allegedly drove a 14-year-old to suicide.
Damn.
Kept bringing him back, telling him things.
If you're using a chatbot for your therapy, I feel like we're our next generation's cooked. I don't think we have a chance. But yeah. Mom, someone asked a question that just because there's a delay. Talking about the Chinese girl from before. Would it change if she was studying viruses at a grad level for, let's say, Regerion, right? Regerion, is that how you pronounce it? The right company?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Or, for example, if she was studying cancer cells, let's say that she discovers a cure to cancer. Is it still bad or as bad? Now replace cancer with any crazy virus. Right. So basically you're saying, let's say she made waves. I think the difference is when you're working with pathogens, I don't think you can just do that at just a school. I think you have to be in like government level labs, right?
Yes. So even the Obama administration cracked down on this. That was part of the reason why everyone had issues with Fauci. He was told we're not supposed to do this. There are only certain facilities around the world that are allowed, meaning we've agreed to you being able to do research. Wuhan, I believe, was one of them. And the reason why it matters is because there's certain levels of protection that you have to have when you deal with certain pathogens. Yeah. First and foremost, whether you agree with it or not, there's a law that says they're not allowed to bring these things into our country. Okay?
Right.
So you broke the law. So right there, I follow the law. You shouldn't be doing it. If you have a reason to think that you're going to do research on something, I am sure there must be levels of applications that you have to submit to do any sort of questionable research. When you get into pathogens, my understanding is we have laws that says you can't do that, and it can only be researched in certain labs. I
have a friend who does research on like hard drugs through what university is it? I should know this. She's going to kill me. But basically the concept is when she needs like a hard drug from usually I think she gets it from police departments. It has to go like the chain of command is like police department has to send it to like FBI. FBI has to go through it, take certain amounts of it, put it into like special sealants, special decontaminants, special everything. Then it gets to her to do the research, and the rules that she has to go through is like, I mean, it's pretty insane. Like you have to keep it in this area, can't go anywhere else. So and what I'm saying is like, the fact that she brought it over, this Chinese girl, just goes to show, I mean, I don't think she was doing this the right way, even if she had good intentions. So you still have to...
Well, and this big question mark...
Sent it to. Well, yeah, but they didn't. So that's someone...
And there's also a big question mark, too. You know, we just got through a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Don't tell me, you know, I'm sure there's semi-smart individuals. Don't tell me that, I didn't think it would be a big deal. And plus, they smuggled it in. They didn't openly carry it in. They knew they were bringing in a pathogen. They didn't claim it when they came to the airports. That was part of the reason why it was a big no-no. And they had to pull them aside, say, why? And they one of them tried to talk his way out of it and then finally admitted that, we're bringing it in. And he knew that you can't do that. It's a controlled substance. You can't do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of checks and balances to that as well. Because I know, as I said, my friend works with like, not cocaine. What is it?
Fentanyl?
No, she's...
Anthrax?
No, it's... Oh, she's going to fucking kill me. I can't think of what it is, but basically she has to get a lot of approvals. Like just to get a new supplement of like, or shipment can take months. So she always has to work with the little bit that she has in order to make it work. And I'm like, but... I would love to learn why they smuggled it. Did the government not allow it for a particular reason? Well, if it's a pathogen, any pathogen, wouldn't be allowed over. I think
I don't know. You guys are probably all too young, but after 9/11, when our country was in a very anxious state, to say the least, we had an issue with anthrax. Somebody was mailing anthrax in envelopes. You just touched anthrax, and you could die. I mean, I think it's that lethal. And it was in the mail. And somebody would just open up a letter and all of a sudden you were infected with anthrax. Every now and then you'll hear usually it's a public official who got something in the mail with anthrax. But we were all on edge, especially if you were in government or you worked in a post office, or it could have been in the mail. That's how important it is to...
What do you mean we, mother? You say it like were you ever government, mother? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying we being a nation, but for a while they're like, is it just government people? What's going on? Could it be on my mail if it went through the post office?
Guys, my mom we would have to hire a different butler every week to go check the mail. And because when they dropped dead, my mom would just hire a new one and repeat the cycle.
We just made Mike open the mail.
Mike, go check as we're all standing. It's like
Yeah.
it's like in a doctor's office where they're like, "Oh, these X-rays are perfectly safe," as they book it out the room. We're all just sitting in the back, like, "Open the mail, Mike." But yeah,
God.
yeah, I do remember because I remember when Trump's first term. Remember, I think it was Ivanka's daughter got hit, or they thought they found she opened something, like a 2-year-old opened something with anthrax in it. I remember that. I was like, damn, that's not good.
Well, yeah, that's so back to the original point. We're not big on pathogens here. And, we had an outbreak in China and it managed to get here. And the president at the time wanted to should have shut down travel. I think he shut it down and he took crap for that. But, when you don't know where it's coming in, you can't control it, and when they're smuggling it into an airport. And by the way, I'd like University of Michigan to be held accountable too. They should be making a statement that this should not be allowed. Did they know this was going on? I'd like to know.
What time is it? Hour 20 in? Okay. What's this one? Actually, I read this one. Where was Biden when he signed all of his EOs, his executive orders? I have a little bit of a problem with how this article is written. Ready? I've compiled a comprehensive spreadsheet tracking Biden's physical location on 1,000. Isn't that grounds for FBI checking to track a guy like that?
Report it. No, they report that. This is from when he was in office. So
Yeah.
They will report where he's at, right?
Yeah. Well, let me explain. Let me explain real fast. So it looks like that this person, data Republican, new spreadsheet drop. Where was Biden? So I've compiled a comprehensive spreadsheet tracking Biden's physical location on 1,000 exact dates of executive orders and pardons from his presidency for the purpose of investigating autopen use. I didn't realize that was public information. Also, a little creepy to be compiling stuff like that. But go ahead.
I think somebody has to do that. Well, here's my take on it. To me, executive orders should be signed.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's the rule. I'm trying to understand that. If somebody tells me that the president has an auto pen, I assume that's for, little letters to little Jimmy so-and-so living in the Midwest who writes to the president. You use the auto pen, right?
Right.
I'm not sure of this, but I don't think auto pens are supposed to be allowed to sign something like an executive order, even if the president is aware of the fact that you're doing it. I could be wrong about that. But I think that's something that I would like to know as a citizen, because I don't want presidents, being able to have somebody in an office stamp something with an auto thing, even though they say, hey, listen, I'm going to use your auto pen. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. To me, that's a little vague. I don't like that.
I always wonder, like, how does an auto pen work, Ma? So I, as a president, I could just tell people, yes, you can use my signature. Is that how that works? Like, just use it when you need it? Or do you need to come to me every time you want to sign something?
Well, that's the question. I always thought the auto pen, like I said, that's for a letter you sent to little Jimmy so-and-so out in the Midwest who wrote to the president. Okay? You auto pen it. And Trump says, hey, nice to see you. Or Biden says, hey, thanks for your note. Good luck at school. If you're telling me that you can use an auto pen to sign a bill or an executive order, as long as the president is aware that you're doing it, I have a problem with that. And the auto pen scandal that's coming out. So obviously they're seeing differences in his signature. And now when everybody's admitting that this president has cognitive issues, okay, who signed these executive orders? And to say to me, well, he was aware that I was signing it. I have a problem with that, whether the president has cognitive issues or not. I wasn't. If that's in fact the case, I have a problem with that, okay? The president should sign it, as we saw Trump doing in the Oval Office with his big-ass signature. Every bill, and they were holding it up. Executive order, what, and explain what it was. I don't care if you have 100 of them. You sit in your office and you sign them, or you go to Air Force One and you bring them to the president to sign.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of this auto pen thing. Why? Because here we have some questions. If a president is incapacitated, who's signing that?
Yeah.
I voted for a president for a reason, for him to sign it. I don't want somebody who, you know what, I don't agree with Trump, so I'm going to sign a different executive order and say it's his, right, or Biden, or whoever.
That is a
So I do think it's something that when it's egregious like this, the guy wasn't even in town. He was golfing.
Right.
And if the answer is, well, yeah, but he knew about somebody, who's that somebody using his autopen to sign an executive order that's changing my life as a citizen, I have a problem with that. Okay? So I do want this event, and I'd like somebody to clarify the rules for me going forward, that anybody could use an autopen to sign these things. What's the rule with that?
All I know is when viewers come up to me to ask for autographs, I'm gonna make sure Kenny signs for me an autopen. I'm too good for that.
With the autopen. Yeah, go to my brother there. He'll do the autopen for you.
I just no pictures, no nothing. Go get a signature from my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I do things. But are there any other articles you want to go through, Mom? I mean, some of them are a little.
The one Supreme Court one, because I started to talk about it.
Okay,
so 9-0.
Yeah,
okay,
so
it was unanimous decision.
Let me read it.
This
straight, white, and vindictive Supreme Court drops the hammer. Right, so go ahead. You can give us.
She's a single white woman. She claims she was discriminated against because she was not gay. Her name was Marlene Ames. She said she was not promoted at the Ohio Department of Youth Services. Her job that she wanted, the job she was trying for, went to a lesbian. Okay. On top of that, she was later demoted and replaced by a gay man. Now, some of the judges require background circumstances. So before I even get into that, this case wasn't about whether she was right or wrong. The case went to an appeals court who said you have to do background circumstances, which is the standard for reverse discrimination. Meaning, if you were fired, it had to have been by or demoted by somebody from a minority group. That's not true if you're in a minority. You don't have to prove that.
This is like a game of reverse chess here. Okay. Right. Trying to keep up.
Based on what the appeal court said, she had to go prove that she was fired or demoted by a lesbian, gay, or a minority. She was fired and demoted by straight individuals. Okay? So the point is, she took it to the Supreme Court and said, hey, that's not fair. Why do I have to go through that? But yet, if somebody was discriminated against because they were black, it doesn't matter if the person who fired them was black, white, or whatever.
Right.
Okay? Understand the difference?
Yes.
So the Supreme Court ruled unanimously, no. The standard of proof should be the same for everybody. This woman should not have to prove that she was fired, and it has to be a minority that fired her. Anybody who fired her, and you can make the case that it was because she wasn't a lesbian or gay or whatever, that should be the standard. So that is huge. People don't understand that there really was an injustice in the system. That if you were a minority and you claimed discrimination, you just had to prove you were discriminated against. If you were in the majority, like a white male or a white female, or a gay versus, you not only had to prove you're discriminated against, and you had to prove that it was by a minority group that discriminated you.
Okay.
Get it?
Gotcha.
Or a minority individual.
Yes.
Okay? So the Supreme Court ruled, no, you can't do that anymore. That's not fair. You have to prove your case. And it doesn't matter if a gay, lesbian, or straight person fired or demoted you. If you could prove that you were discriminated against because you weren't one of those things, that's all you need to do. So now it's going to go back. It was a win. It's going to go back to the appeal courts, and now they can't use background circumstances. Either she was discriminated against and she makes her case, or she wasn't.
I think everyone in our chat checked out on that one. Did anyone follow that?
Yeah.
That was tough. I was like, oh God.
I'll just say it's an interesting case for reverse discrimination.
Right.
Which is becoming a hot issue with all the DEI, the university people, et cetera,
right,
in making your case. So
you'll
hear about it.
Put me to sleep, Mom.
Sorry.
Yeah, my mom says the same. Yeah, I don't think we have to do any more articles. I think we hit enough. We just did almost hour 30. But does anyone have any questions? They could anything you want. You could talk about articles. You could do YouTube stuff, family stuff, best vacation, stuff like that. Your calls.
You bring up best vacation.
I always bring up best vacation.
What is your problem?
Listen.
Book a freaking trip and go away.
Because I'm waiting for beaches and Turks and Caicos to finally give me the call and say, Pancake, you're getting so big, we want to bring you down. In the midst of a war.
Yeah, sure.
In the midst of the war that's going on down
during
there.
hurricane season.
Yeah.
We're open during hurricane season for your Pancake.
Yeah. Well, but the food's good, and it's all inclusive for $2 because might not be here tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like Dave's Hot Chicken? Do you have one of those down there by you?
Someone recommended that to me recently. Never had it.
All right.
I went to Wingstop for the
While you're
first
waiting,
time.
while you're waiting for calls, this is a true American story. This
That's
was
what
one
I
of my
do.
articles, but it has no point whatsoever. You can interrupt me if somebody has a question, whatever. But so these three guys, one of them says, "Hey, I want to do chicken." Right? They wind up getting together. They're testing recipes. They come upon one because they threw some chicken in a pickle jar because they need a place to put it. Turns out they started adding the pickle juice to the sauce and whatever. Okay, so they come up with this $900 they scrap together. They go to an LA parking lot. They can't even afford the van, so they get a fryer, a heat lamp for the French fries, right? And they they wind up taking this. It's a $150 fryer, a heat lamp for the fries, and they borrowed tables from their parents to do this first thing.
Yeah.
Literally this past week, they just did, or I don't know if it's this week, but recently, it's like just sold for $1 billion. This
Wow.
franchise. They went to 300 locations.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah.
Which one did Subway just buy out? Subway just bought out some fast food chain that I never heard
Oh,
of.
I don't
Maybe
know.
it's that fast chickens, whatever. But
Right.
I still think the best chicken related story is, I believe it's Rick Ross, the rapper. Most of his money doesn't come from rapping. It comes from he invented like dry rub on wings because he would be eating wings in strip clubs and he couldn't touch the strippers with saucy hands. So he made like billions of dollars making those dry rubs. He like invented them. Genius. Sometimes the best ideas are done in a strip club, Mom.
Yeah, sure. When you can think straight. Yeah,
When you
sure.
can think straight.
Anyway, I just love that story. I don't know why I pulled it as one of my articles, but I heard that. I'm like, well, that's a good American story. Okay.
Yeah.
Three guys pulled with $900. They started to make money. Oh, the first time they sold it was to four people, his girlfriend and three of her friends.
Nice.
But what made it work for them? A food critic came, or somebody who knows a food critic. I can't remember, that's part of the story, but came and tried it, and that's what launched them. Then they were making $1,000 a night, 1,000. 4 months later, they pulled $10,000 each, and
Wow.
then after that, it just took off. And a fourth friend became involved, and yeah, it went to how many? What did I say? 300 locations. It's a franchise business now, and it's worth about $1 billion.
Wow. That's kind of like speaking of food reviewers, like Dave Portnoy when he does those pizza reviews. Some of those pizza restaurants just go viral. Like they just like freaking what's that? DeLuca's Pizza by us. You can't even. That place went from hey, come on in, like get a pizza at any time. Now there's like a 3-day wait for a pizza. It's like, oh, I'll order it on Thursday. Maybe we can get it on Sunday. Even I don't think that far with meals.
Mike and I tried it one time, right? We put the order in the morning, and an hour later, it was cut off for the rest of the day. Because once they're done, they're done. They don't fire up the oven for any late night pizzas. They shut it down at 3, and they're not turning it back on again. So you have to get your order in by a certain time.
Someone said I can't stand Portnoy.
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy's a tough. I like him, but I respect what he did with Barstool. But Kenny and I were talking about it on our podcast, like, what does Barstool even do anymore? Like, it used to be a sports, it used to be a sports thing. Now it's like a TikTok news drama thing. But I guess we're not much better. So, difference is he's got a multiple.
Recently, somebody did some anti-Semitic comments.
Yeah, someone said it was like an anti-Jew joke. And he went off on him, and then people started to make fun of him or kind of like clap back at him with old jokes that he used to make that were pretty egregious as well. So, yeah, you can't really. I like Dave, but sometimes I feel like Barstool is the Wild Wild West when it comes to a company.
Yeah.
So I think they think that they can get away with more than they really can when it comes to the internet. So.
Well, that's never appropriate. But especially now, I don't know if I don't remember what his response was, but there's just such an anti-Semitic vibe right now.
He didn't say he didn't say the joke. Someone else said the joke.
No, I know, but I'm saying right now, I think people are hypersensitive to doing that, and rightly so. Where maybe I've said it in the past, it shouldn't have. I'm speaking for him. Maybe he said it in the past and shouldn't have, but right now, it's really, really not right to do. It's just insightful and. Well, I'm not a big into the hypocrisy. If somebody did it before, who is he to be,
Yeah.
making if he did it before, he shouldn't be making comments, or should say, listen, I've been down that road, not appropriate, we can't do it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't watch it. The only thing I remember him getting in serious trouble for was where it was like in the news really was the insider trading in a sense, where basically, right, he would live stream himself putting money down on stocks. And he would say, and then they were like, isn't this technically insider trading? But we've never seen that before because no one's ever really done stocks at that level on the internet. So,
on the internet, yeah. I think now it's becoming more commonplace.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the amount of rug pulls I see every day. Oof. I
think you just like saying rug pulls.
Oh, yeah. Great minds think alike, average gabagool. Oh, what'd you say, Mom?
I said, I think you just like saying rug pulls.
Rug pulls? Well, I mean, the amount of rug pulls I've seen with these cryptos, I mean, I don't know what else to call them. Frauds?
No, I'm just saying in general, rug pulls. Those rug pulls. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the financial industry that is very questionable.
Yeah.
Rug pulls being one of them.
Meanwhile, he kept losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, like that is, it's funny, but to your point, you're ruining people's lives. But you can also make that argument with a lot of these cryptocurrencies that people keep launching and failing. And like Trump coin, remember how many people made millions of dollars and then they just pulled it at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I don't really, I'm not a proponent of crypto. I said it. I said it.
Okay. I don't know enough. I can't comment on it. I do think we've talked about this. I do think at some point they have to regulate it.
They will.
Before I feel comfortable getting involved in it, I like to see it somewhat regulated, just not regulated to the point where it's useless. They tend to do that too.
Truth Social is another fun one. Oh, whatever happened to Truth Social? Is that still going strong?
Oh yeah, he still posts on Truth Social.
Really?
Trump. Yeah. Yeah, he just did a long-winded one today about Los Angeles.
Oh, I guess he must use one of those apps. Well, I shouldn't say he. Whoever runs his Twitter must use one of those apps that posts everything to Twitter and Truth Social at the same time. Because I think I just see him in tweets rather than like I don't think I've ever looked at Truth Social.
Remember, Trump was not allowed on X for a while.
Well, yeah, that's why he made it.
Yeah. So he created the Truth Social, and which was, he has his own platform, and it's kind of unique for the president to have his own platform, not have to rely on the White House, blah, blah, blah.
Got to lose significantly. Oh, maybe that's true. But my only problem with that, so someone wrote, he jibbed angel investors without telling them he would do tender offerings. So then the early investors got diluted significantly. My only problem when people say that guy, like Trump did it, it's not like he's the one that came up with Truth Social. Someone else ran it for him. It's kind of like Haley Welsh, where the Hawk Tuah girl, who, here's this crypto that I'm promoting, and then she's just kind of the spokesperson for it and thinks it's a great idea, and then other people rug pull it, right? So
I think Jason Miller was one of the people who started Truth Social.
So that's why I don't really like Trump's not the one that was like, I want to start Truth Social. Someone came up to him and said, this is a good idea. You should probably do this and we'll run it for you. And he probably like, fine.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a collected idea where Trump said, I need to come up with my own. What can I do?
He's the owner and CEO. Is he the owner and CEO of Truth Social, or is he just I have to believe someone else runs it?
No, I think he it's his thing. It's
really? So it is his actual company? Who?
You'd have to. I don't know the structure of it. I really don't. You'd have to
let's see.
Google that one, but
Trump Media owns it. So Trump Media, and then who? Okay, so who is the CEO of Truth Social?
But I think it's Jason Miller is involved in it.
Owner of Truth Social.
One of his advisors.
It actually just says Trump Media and Technology Group Corp. So then I should just say who's the CEO and manager of Trump's probably him, but
CEO. The other thing I'd say is he might not be allowed. When he became president, he might have divested. I don't know.
So Devin Nunes is the owner and chairman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Devin Nunes.
So that's what I mean. It's probably that guy that came up with the idea. At the time, financing, he was the CEO. Okay. Yeah, so whoever's running it now, we don't know when he got He's been chairperson. Oh, Nunes is currently the chairholder.
Yeah, Devin Nunes was the congressman who started the whole Russiagate investigation. He was the one that
Oh, yeah,
spearheaded
yeah, yeah,
everything with
yeah,
Trump.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, I can't completely put him on blast for what. I don't know if I would call it Truth Social rug pull, but the dilution that you're talking about, I can't really pin that on Trump himself. It's whoever ran the thing. Because I guarantee you, a 60-year-old, or 60, he's older than that now, like 75 probably when he did it, when Truth Social came out. He's not doing it. He doesn't have that kind of time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Trump isn't that totally disassociated from everything. I mean,
yeah, he's definitely
very much
not, but
actively involved, especially with media. Remember, he was the media. He's the TV personality guy.
no, that's
and
true.
He's no schlock with that stuff.
I just always question when people have their name on something and then are they the CEO making the decisions? Because we know too many CEOs that don't do that.
Because of the fact that when he started it, he might have been actively involved, but once he was running again for another term, I think he probably had to disassociate from a lot of it. Not necessarily sell it, but get his name off, put it in a trust, or have other people,
His kids or
didn't
something.
they do an IPO? I thought True Social did an IPO. And
I believe it did.
Yeah, it started everything. So yeah, then he probably became a shareholder in the company. I don't know if he's actively in it as president. I doubt that.
Trump was at UFC last night? Yes, we watched the UFC. The UFC's in shambles, Mom. I don't even get excited for these UFCs anymore.
Last night, I was picking your dad up at Newark Airport.
Yep.
We were driving home westbound. I want to tell you, 3 sets of police cars, full lights going, right?
Oh, that's why, yeah.
10 to 15, flying down the eastbound side. I was convinced there was a riot or something in New York City, and they were calling in cops from New Jersey. The only thing that we found that was going on was Trump was in Newark at the UFC. There was no crisis there. I still don't know what all these police cars were doing. Heading eastbound. I'm dying to know, too. Because then when I saw it, I'm like, well, there's no riot there. I guess everything was fine with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had to go, like, pull Trump off of, or Musk off of Trump.
With the fights. No, it was just such a boring UFC. I was very depressed. We were all kind of depressed.
Was
the damn Dagestanis, Mom. Their wrestling is just killing the UFC. I'm sick and tired of the Daggies in the UFC. Things not to say. It's just all wrestling now, so no one really wants to watch it. We watch, like no one shows up anymore as much anymore. God, I said that very weird. No one really shows up for the fights anymore. Like our friend group, like people. No, our guys. For the Discord when we watch the fights. Yeah. Like, people just kind of come and go. It's not the same. Like, the UFC's in real shambles right now.
It's not as interesting as it used to be or exciting.
As Kenny calls them, the crotch sniffers. The wrestlers are all crotch sniffers.
Oh, God. Kenneth.
So that's why. But he's right, though. Like, there's nothing worse than in the first 2 seconds of a round, a wrestler just brings a guy to the ground and sits there because he won the round So we just watch 2 guys on the ground for 5 minutes. It's just not that interesting. So that's why the UFC numbers have been going down, but they keep saying record ticket prices and stuff, and that's because they keep upping the price of the tickets. So some of the worst seats are $1,000. So they keep saying biggest gate of all time, and then I miss Rose.
They're not going to pay it anymore. Why bother? Paying anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The UFC is just in such shambles. There's no fights I'm looking forward to. Last night's fight, we all knew how that one was going to end.
Dana White better pay attention.
Rose was pretty when she had hair. Rose Namajunas. Let's see.
Who's Rose?
Rose Namajunas is a female fighter who. Hey, some others.
Did you see the boxing one for the Olympics? Turns out male chromosomes.
We knew that a while ago, though, right?
Well, but I think they officially leaked the blood tests that they knew she was a male.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, people are saying she should step down. She should have to give up her gold medal.
Hold on, let me show you this, Mom.
I hope I look it up.
It's gonna mess up the shorts form stream, but so Mom, here's. What do you think?
She's pretty.
She's very pretty, right? She's gorgeous, right? Look what she did. Right? Look what she did. You're gonna go, Wait.
Oh,
Boom!
geez. Oh, boy.
Boom! Because she was tired of getting her hair pulled. So it's fair, but like.
Yeah,
Kinda.
but you know what? There's more going on with her face. She's been kicked in that face a few times. Look at
Oh,
it.
that's not Rose.
That's not her.
No.
Yeah, she's definitely have some facial damage too,
Boom.
but that's yeah.
Little
no,
CTE, ma. Little CTE.
Yeah.
So.
That's a bit extreme. You can shorten your hair without doing that much. But
Yeah. Could have made it like, Ellen DeGeneres style. You didn't have to do a full shave.
like I said, I think there's something more going on with her face because her face looked better in the other one. And I'm not talking about her hair. Just
Go
her
say
face
it to her
structure.
face, ma. Go say it to her
really.
face.
Kick my ass, that's for certain.
Any other questions, guys, before we wrap it up?
Women don't fight. We create eating disorders in each other.
Yeah.
We slowly kill each other with our
Yeah.
barbs and fiendish comments
Yeah.
and gossip behind your back.
Oh. Your eyelashes, way off. Eyebrows, terrible. Contour, way off.
Oh, God. There's an actress, Lorraine Bracco. She was in Goodfellas and...
Fellas?
She's been
Fellows.
Goodfellas. Goodfellas.
Goodfellows.
She played the wife. She's been in something else famous. I can't think of what it was. But anyhow, when she was 6 years old, no, she was in the 6th grade. This always stood with her. The girls told her, one of the girls on the bus, and this is typical of girls, looked at her and says, we all took a vote. The whole school voted you the ugliest girl in school. Okay? Now, you could laugh at that.
Were they right?
But when you're in 6th grade and somebody tells you that as a young girl, it was devastating. She says, I carried that with me all the way through, and this would be the joke of it, all the way through modeling in Paris when I got my first modeling job. All I could think of was, how could this be happening? I was the ugliest girl in my school. Imagine that.
That's how I felt.
That, guys, is how little girls work.
Yeah.
Okay?
My brothers used to do it to me all the time. They say, Chris, you're hideous.
It's called passive aggressive. You don't ever have to throw a punch, and you can haunt somebody longer than if you broke the jaw, which eventually would heal. With a girl, it could last.
I go right for the throat.
Oh, freaking life.
Girls can be mean. Oh, I'm waiting, because I always go out with Brooke to, when we go to the bars and stuff. I'm waiting for some female to go up to Brooke and call her hideous, just because I want to back her up, and I'm going to throw out every insult. I'm going to make sure this woman wishes she was never born.
Oh my God. And then weird
Okay,
thing is,
Jabba the
they'll
Hutt,
do it
step
too.
back.
They'll do it too for no reason. I mean, it's just, they're harsh. And I know I'm generalizing.
I go right for the weight. The second they say something, I'm going right for your weight. Oh,
here's a good one. Another article. I didn't post it. So now in the universities, they have a no contact rule. So normally you have that if, say, some guy was stalking you at school, right? You have no contact. They can't come near you. They have to keep a distance. Do you know they happen to mention a girl. I assume it's mostly girls. Girl actually filed one against her old roommate because they were fighting.
Smart.
So the roommate's not allowed to come near her. She has to keep 10 feet away, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at this and I go, what a pathetic world we're living in. When you got to do a contract in school, how many times do we fight with our roommates in college, or you had a bad incident or whatever, especially with girls? Now you got to file sort of a restraining notice to keep them away from you on campus.
Yeah.
Again, this is girls. Telling you. Oy.
I can't stand people wearing ponchos in Times Square. Someone said, what? Someone asked, do you have any pet peeves? And they said, I can't stand people wearing ponchos in Times Square. I lose my mind when I see that. What the hell do you got with ponchos? That's such a weird pet peeve. God forbid you go on a date with someone with a fucking poncho. Ponchos in Times Square.
Yeah, they were in the 70s.
Yeah. What a poncho. Do I have any pet peeves? Bad dental hygiene is probably a bad pet peeve that I have. Oh, on double-decker buses. Oh, tourists with ponchos. Jeez.
Okay, now we're more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, they should not be allowed in our country. Get them out. Get the National Guard. Get a poncho.
Get the ponchos out of here. If you're wearing one, even if you're an American citizen, you're out.
Walk them off the bus. Right onto the
In
airplane.
handcuffs. What did I do, officer? That poncho just has to go.
You're out of here. Back to Spain. Come on, Pueblo. Let's go.
Do I have...
Pedro.
Yeah, what's a pet peeve that I have? I'm trying to think. I either have a lot of. Funny enough, they're always Asian. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but we all knew it was implied. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any like real pet peeves that like are different from everyone else's. I got another one. People taking too long in the restroom. No, I guess I don't like loud people. Like I don't like loud people in restaurants. I went to dinner with someone back when I was home, my friend Alex, and she was so loud in there because she lives in a huge house, so she has to scream every freaking time. She was bothering everyone around us, and I was like, Alex, you gotta like lower your voice. That's a pet peeve of mine. Like if you're too loud in just regular settings, it's like, hey, calm down.
All right, I have a good one, and I'm probably going to insult a lot of people when I say this.
Uh-oh.
You know it, Chris. My pet peeve is people who drive in the left lane.
Oh, I have to call bullshit on this one. My mom does this thing that drives me absolutely nuts. My mom will get up behind someone in the left lane if they're too slow on the highway till they move. She'll pass them and then go in front of them in the right lane because she's like, all right, pass. I don't have to go anywhere. Okay, Mom, if you're going to get someone to move, you got to at least go a few miles down before you go right over. My mom legitimately, well, okay, so here's the car in front. She'll go like this. Guy moves over into the next lane. And then my mom goes past him and then goes in front of him. I'm just like, what's the point, Mom? Just keep doing 90. Right. Go into passing speed. I'll hug that left lane the whole time.
Okay, I'm about to wreck you. Okay?
Here we go.
First of all, I only do that with people who don't get out of the way.
My mom's a maniac.
No. The rule of the road is, it's the law, and it's also called common freaking sense. You keep to the right except when passing.
Mm-hmm.
You should never be going at, I think I'll just go at this speed in the left lane. And if you look to your right and there's a car next to you, guess what? No one can freaking pass to go faster because you're both hogging the lanes. Okay? Now, you could go at a slow speed, but stay to the right. That's the law. Okay? As far right as possible. You got to leave the left side clear so people who want to go faster can pass.
I do think that the left lane should have no speed limit. I think you would see a lot less traffic. I think the left lane...
It won't matter because jackasses sitting there and they don't move over to the right.
Until they see someone...
No, okay. Listen, and this is an even worse pet peeve. And if you're out here listening...
Here we go. This is where my mom goes on a fucking tear.
When you get on a highway, okay? And you immediately cross over 1, 2, and 3 lanes and go sit in that left lane.
Yeah.
There's no cars. That's not how the highway system works, people.
That always reminds me.
I'm not going to care if you want to do it. It's stupid, but go ahead.
That reminds me of the Family Guy thing, you know? I turn left now. Good luck, everybody else.
Yeah. And they don't understand. So what Christopher's saying, let me clarify. If I come up behind you doing my pace, okay? And you're not advancing, and I don't push people. You don't have to go at my speed, but just keep moving. And then get to the right so the rest of us can keep going at our speed. Mm-hmm. If you don't move and you're keeping pace with the car next to you, you literally are causing traffic. That's by definition. You're causing people to back up. Okay? If you keep doing that, and sometimes I'll give you time, I'll start flashing my lights. If somebody does it to me,
my mom's petty as hell.
I've had people flash me, and I've gladly sped up and I've moved over. They were right. I got to get out of the way. Okay. If you don't move over, to Christopher's point, if I get even an inch, I'm going to go past you, and I'm going to move right to the right.
And my mom does the stare down, too, which sucks. So, like, I'll be in the passenger seat, and I'm like this, while my mom's doing the whole stare down, making sure.
I don't do that. I don't even care. I just get out of my way, or people's way.
Paris said loud.
Not all of us wants to.
Go ahead, sorry.
Not all of us wants to spend our day on the highway, doing 55 on a highway that's 65, sitting in the left lane and not realizing, numbnuts, do you see everybody else? We can't get... Oh, and then the best is when somebody complains to me, why are you passing on the right? Where else am I supposed to go? The freaking morons
I never understood passing on the right, how that's not allowed. Hey, if you're too slow, I'm passing you. I don't care what side you're on.
It's not allowed because people are supposed to keep to the right.
Right.
If you're going to pass, you pass to the
Screw
left.
them.
Makes sense. That's how you keep the road safe. But if people clog up, so I'm going to throw this out to people. Next time you're on the road and there's traffic, take a look at the road ahead of you. You're going to notice the right lane is usually free. Everybody's in the two left lanes.
Yeah. Oh boy, if someone flashes me, I slow the fuck down. Yeah?
Right.
You're going to slow
Right.
down. Yeah. My mom's borderline playing bumper cars over here. Pet peeve, loud at the
Oh, lots of
theater.
people do it to me.
That's a sign. Loud at the theater. Yeah. Luckily, I don't go to movie theaters anymore, so I don't.
Yeah.
Like loud at the movie theater. I'm someone who will probably say something.
You know, it's funny that the industry kept trying to get people to go back to the movies, back to the movies. Martin Scorsese came out and says, I can't go to the movies anymore because the audience is just so rude.
Yeah. I believe it. I would
I
hate
guess you
that.
can get the memo.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone, or are we gonna wrap it up?
We could wrap it up soon. I probably have to give somebody a pill pretty soon.
Yeah, Grandma. What is it?
I probably should check on my mother who's been upstairs watching the game, trying to recoup her dollar bet.
Yeah, her and Dad are going back and forth up there. I'm gonna get that dollar.
2 times Grandma's watched the NBA Finals, and the 2 times she's watched it, the team was losing so badly. Her team, she shut it off. Happened with the Knicks and the Pacers. And both times, and Chris will tell you, his dad will say, I don't watch basketball till the last quarter because that's when it matters. That's what's most exciting. She shuts it off. 2 times we've had to go down and tell her, no, Mom, your team won. And she didn't believe us.
It's funny. Yeah. Oof, the Knicks, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that was one of the games, the Knicks. And just the other night with the Pacers won by 1 over OKC. And Grandma shut it off. She's like, I'm done. My team. She wants the Pacers. I'm done. My team's going to lose. And they won by 1 point at the end.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I told Aunt Sue and Uncle Jerry, I think next season of Survivor, we're going to start making bets.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a good idea.
Start, because it's something different every week. So I was like, I've become a Survivor. Go ahead.
Do you still watch Extraction? Is that still going on?
No, Aunt Sue watched through that. I stopped watching it just because I was too late when I got over there, and then I just had too much to do. But that was a good show. I just can't keep up with it. Like I gotta watch them all at once.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's going to keep going. I have no idea what's like popular anymore on TV because I don't watch the TV shows. Everything I see is streaming.
Yeah.
So
everyone's like that though.
Time, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I know you can stream these shows too, but I don't watch enough TV to know what's popular from commercials and stuff. So I often wonder what they're into and what they're watching and what. I don't see much with Extraction anymore. The little bit that
I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a show like here. Like whenever I watch something, it's at Aunt Sue's, and usually it's softball or baseball. So I don't mind it.
That sounds about right. Or golf, right? They like golf.
I'll watch some golf. Baseball. Baseball's tough because it's more of a statistics sport. So football, and then unless there's a fight, it goes very slow. Like I went to Jordan's softball game the other day, and there's a lot of rules that make the game go faster. I was like, this is nice. Right? I can sit here. It's a half an hour game essentially.
Right.
45 minutes to an hour. And I was like, oh, all right. I can watch this.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quick. Everyone's hitting. People were slammed. There's a girl. I won't lie. She was built like a softball player who hit 300 feet, whatever that is. I was like, God damn. She was going fucking long. She was going for yards.
Remember the baseball picnic every year when your kids were little and all the adults? This is sad ass fathers and some of the butch mothers. All it was hitting Furby. They were just like salivated hitting the ball. They didn't care about playing defense. They just wanted to hit that ball as hard as they could in the field.
Well, I always think about when the only memory I have of that place is when Dad hit Maggie in the face with that softball. Remember that? And then she had the seams of the ball in her head. Legend has it she's.
That was the one for school. I'm talking about the one at the end of the rec league, the baseball in Bedminster.
Yeah.
You remember they'd have the big picnic at the end over at the field?
Oh, yeah.
We'd eat at the concession stand, whatever was left.
That's where my overeating started.
Would play at the end, and it was just like a home run derby.
I don't remember that. I don't remember. I know Dad played. I remember that vaguely, but I don't remember. I was probably eating. I was probably eating, not paying attention. Yeah, I thought you meant the school one where Dad hit Maggie right in the face with a softball.
Yeah.
Stitches are still in her head to this day.
Dad's had a few incidences with overzealous sports.
And the worst part is most people would be like, "Ooh, I hit that little girl." My dad gets like, "Yeah."
Shake it off, Maggie. You're fine.
My dad's like, "Get it together, Maggie, you idiot."
Walk it off. Come back in 5.
As she's on the ground between first and second base, he walked over her to and said, he went boom.
We were playing some pool volleyball too. Was it pool? I'm pretty sure we were in the pool, and there was a work one, an older woman with glasses on, and Dad slammed the ball, like he spiked the ball and hit her right in the face. And what made it worse was a pool that was like blood
everywhere. Yeah, to make it even worse. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that was embarrassing.
I think I don't know why this reminds me of this, but I still remember when Mary like broke her nose on our trampoline. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Mary Greta. Yeah,
but
I can say Mary's last name because her dad's been on the podcast. But I just remember her knee hitting her in the face, and then I just remember
she might not appreciate her name being on it.
No, she doesn't care. She's been dying to be on the podcast. She's been dying to do the pod.
I don't think she broke her nose. I think she might have hit it and bled.
Yeah, but I just remember it was a lot of blood.
Yeah.
On a trampoline, and I was like, I don't want to use the trampoline anymore. I was like, I don't want to.
People don't wonder about our trampoline. The stories we've told about the Jake, Timothy, people jumping on our trampoline.
Well, that trampoline, that trampoline. Like, if you've never really been on a trampoline, it's kind of. It takes a little getting used to, and then you have 3 boys who you are on all the time, so you're gonna get double bounced.
There's a reason why they say one person only.
Yeah, looking back on it, that trampoline was not as big circumference-wise because with the net and stuff, you lose a lot of feet on each side. So,
and every time I looked out there was like 3 kids on average on that thing. I'm like, get off one at a time. You're gonna get hurt.
The best was putting the water. Remember the thing underneath to make the trampoline wet so you get more spring, and then we would double bounce the shit out of Michael. And Mike's like, I can't stand.
It was hot. The water would go everywhere. It was like a sprinkler system. Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't even want to know what the water bill was. Well, we don't have a water bill, but you know what I mean. That would have been astronomical, the amount of water that we used.
And then Dad would come home from work. Why is it so muddy? Why the hell?
What
the hell is this?
Yeah.
You'd be pulling in the hose.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just remember the height that Michael would get. Like Mike would be way over the net, and we were like, "This probably isn't a good idea." And Katie's like, "Keep going, keep going."
Yeah.
Katie's like, "Keep going." Get it together. Yeah.
Go higher, Mike.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
yeah.
Fall off. Sure.
Someone went over the net. I think it was Kenny went over the net.
Oh God! Don't even tell me.
Well, you remember. I mean, he was crying his ass off.
Oh, he was?
You don't remember? Yeah.
People are always crying about something.
Yeah. But, all right, guys. We just did 2 hours, Mom. That was a good one. Good 2-hour pod. We'll end it there. So the only things I have to promote is, we did a lot of topics.
All over the place.
Only things I have to promote, obviously, the podcast from last week. Wednesday was a speed run. The last speed run, we have a whole new set of speed runs to start practicing. And then the other one's the golf video. The golf video was yesterday. Go check that out. I played like shit, but you know what annoys me, Mom? I played like shit in the video, and then I played on Wednesday, and I played my ass off. I shot 72.
Oh, they all say that. Yeah.
I'm pissed about it. I actually still have the scorecard somewhere from the other day, but whatever. Thanks, Mom, for being on. Well, Mom's always on, unless it's my brother's. But yeah, you're new here. I get it.
But, I have a choice.
Yeah, my mom gets put to. She doesn't even get. She's asked for proceeds. She's like, I want 70% of the company. I'm like, you're not touching a penny, Ma.
Now they're going to be bitching about. Tell her to shut up about the driving. What does she know, idiot?
Well, I can't wait till brush up a little. I can't wait till like down the road. It's gonna be the whole when we're in the tabloids, Mom, and it's son and mother have fight over differences over the pot. That's gonna be the tabloids. They fight all the time, and then I'm gonna do an interview, and I'm gonna make it seem like we absolutely hate each other, except for on the podcast. Truth is, I don't even like my mom, but we're work partners at this point.
We never
It's a
talk
big
anymore.
Yeah,
Really know
she does nothing, but she shows up and asks for 80% of the profits.
Yeah, sure. This is what I get. This is my profit. I get a mug.
Yeah, you get a mug.
Coffee.
A mug that my mom made.
Thanks.
What are those maps behind my mom? That's the map of North Carolina, right, Mom? Behind you?
A few places.
I'm noticing your
Carolina,
podcast award isn't behind you, but okay.
Yes, it is. It's over here.
Oh, where no one can see it?
50 and over. My desk is a mess. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
You gotta
I
stay.
got a lot of stuff going
Get rid
on.
of the maps. Put the podcast award up there.
I probably should because I don't really use. There's more maps over that way too, by the way,
Yeah.
but I don't really use them that much.
The old
so.
podcast studio, as we like to call
Yeah, I
it,
should clean
aka
it
the
up down
basement.
here a little bit. Wait till you see the new studio in my next house.
Oh,
My office.
are you building one? I was telling
I'd
Nancy, I was like, it
but
might
no,
be.
when I
Now that we have the cooking show going, we're gonna have to get a full, like, office space. One podcast, cooking show, one of those full model kitchens with all the cameras and stuff, and
studios.
then
Yes,
my
there
room
you
for
go.
working.
Yeah, well, I won't be there, but I'll be remote in my own office, which hopefully won't be in the basement with the little windows, you know. No, I like it down here.
The
My mother
cave.
can't do My mother can't
Get
do
to
the
the
stairs,
stairs.
so I hide out.
Yeah.
She calls me from the top. Are you down there? No. No, she's good. There's
Yeah.
no railing, so she can't come down the
Careful.
stairs without
Knowing
help.
Grandma, she'll do the tumble down and get up. That's the fastest
right?
way possible. The jumper.
Of course, she doesn't really want to come down here because it's too cold. It's delightful. down
Really?
here.
Usually
It's
the basement's
very,
always
very
hot.
cool. No, in the summer, this stays cool. It's like 63 down here.
I will
For us,
say
that's
the
pretty cool.
insulation in my apartment, I'm always impressed with. It could be 100 degrees out and it's still cold when I open my door, which is very nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Very nice. So
Well, it helps you don't have a lot of sunlight coming in too.
That's true.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have the awning so that when you notice the difference when you put the awning out, or when it's really hot, I close the curtains because I don't want to air condition sun rays and nobody's here.
True. But all right, guys, we'll end it there. We went longer than usual, so go watch the golf video because it was a lot of work, that video. So please go check it out. And then social media, promo code Streamlinks, Discord down below. Tomorrow we will start probably another Metroid. We got a lot of Metroids to go through. So that's about it. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.